Hello YouTube. Today I want to talk honestly about what it's actually like to live in Japan. First, a bit of context. I was born and raised here. I've never lived in the US or anywhere else. So this is purely from the perspective of someone who's spent their whole life in Japan. To get straight to the point, I think Japan is, overall, a genuinely good place to live. But Tokyo specifically? Not necessarily the smart choice. At least not for someone like me, who doesn't have some exceptional skill set or a high income. If you're a foreigner who's learned Japanese and thinking about moving here, that might land a little differently for you. But hear me out. Japan as a whole is safe, clean, and the infrastructure is solid. Like, genuinely solid. But Tokyo is its own thing. Rent is high, it's crowded, and there's this constant low-level pressure, this feeling that something is always rushing you forward. Honestly, unless you're earning well or have something that sets you apart, life in Tokyo doesn't really feel like comfort. It feels more like slowly grinding yourself down. You work, you squeeze onto a packed train, you go home, you sleep. And you do it again. That said, there's one thing I really want to add here, because I think it changes the picture a lot. Having your own business in Tokyo. The potential is massive. Everything I just said was mostly about being an employee. But if you're on the side of building something, Tokyo looks completely different. People gather here. Money flows here. Information moves fast. Trends start here, and when something catches on, it spreads quickly. Ideas that would be impossible to scale in a rural area can actually find a market in Tokyo. Even small concepts get tested faster. Yet, the competition is brutal, and the failure rate is high. But that's kind of the point. There's actually an environment here where you can take risks and try things. And here's something that might sound counterintuitive: in some ways, the risk of failing in Tokyo is actually lower than people think. Failure still hurts. Debt is real. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But Tokyo has so many job opportunities that even if things fall apart, even if you end up with, say, 10 million yen in debt, it's relatively rare to be completely stuck with no path forward. Rural areas are a different story. Fewer jobs means fewer ways to recover. Once things fall apart out there, rebuilding is genuinely harder. Tokyo lets you fail and still come back. That's actually kind of rare. Rural life, on the other hand, has its own appeal. Cheaper rent, more space, a slower pace. But the trade-off is real: fewer opportunities, lower salaries, and a smaller window if you ever need to pivot. So in the end, how you live in Japan really comes down to what you're prioritizing. Money? Time? A lower baseline of stress? There's no single right answer. For me personally, I know I'm not someone with exceptional ability. So rather than forcing myself into a competition I didn't sign up for, I'd rather find a place that actually fits the life I want. That's not pessimism. It's just being honest with yourself. Not everyone needs to make it in Tokyo. That was never the only valid path. If you're watching this and thinking about coming to Japan, please look beyond Tokyo. Explore other cities, other regions. There's so much more to this country than one city. Japan is more than just Tokyo.